Hello and welcome back to the Mugenchi Dojo, the Flesh and Blood channel dedicated for helping you on your journey through learning to play the game of Flesh and Blood. We are back with our 201 sessions. If you have not checked out our 101 sessions and are just starting the game, you're brand new, please check those out. I think they would help you a lot more than the 201, but to each their own. If you think you're ready for it, feel free to start here. Today's lesson is, of course, deck building. Very, very important part of every FAB player's arsenal is being able to build their deck, customize their deck, and tweak it for each and every need. Who, what cards do you want to add in that help give you that edge against the opponents you see every day? So I've taken my process for deck building, I've divided it up into, we'll say, 4 steps. Um, is this necessarily the best way to build a deck? Not necessarily, but it gets the job done, and I think it's a great starting point for people wanting to start building on their own. A lot of people will grab decks that other people have built, or will have decks built for them by their friends, which is okay. But, to truly start excelling at the game, you gotta know why each card is in your deck. So let's start exploring the path of how we can choose cards to put in our deck. So, like I said, I've divided this into 4 simple steps. We're going to take time now and go through each of those 4 steps. I do think that I will probably do a future video that goes a little bit more in depth on each step and actually shows examples. Let me know your thoughts on that later. But for now, we're just going to kind of go over those steps and explain how to perform each of them. So, step one, you got to form an idea and start gathering cards together. You can't build a deck if you have no idea what you're building. This could be picking out your hero, picking out a concept you like. Maybe there's a combo of cards that you really like. Maybe you just really, really like the Sun Kiss Moon Wish combo and you want to build a deck around that. Or, maybe there's some ninja cards you really like. Or I think a really good example would be you really like Syndra's ability to throw her daggers. So let's say you want to play Syndra, you want to do a heavy dagger throwing build. So we can start there. You start by gathering up all the cards you have that you think will help you with this goal. Get all of them together. This can be done virtually. This can be done out of your bulk pile, out of your collection, whatever. It can be done physically or digitally, I guess. But you want to gather all the cards you think might help in your Syndra deck. It's okay to have a very large pile here. In fact, that is the goal. Sometimes it feels like I have 100+ cards in this starter deck idea, but we will very quickly start whittling down to our proper deck size. That brings me to the second step, removing illegal cards. So you've picked out a hero, you picked out a concept, you've gathered a whole lot of cards. About this point in time, you might want to choose a format. When you choose a format, that comes with its own ban list. So you're going to need to start getting rid of cards that don't fit in that format. That might be Majestics, for example, or higher level cards if you are building for Silver Age. Or, in CC, there might just be some banned cards that you need to get rid of. The other important thing to look at here would be removing cards that are not legal for your hero itself. So let's say you're playing Syndra, you're going to want to remove any cards that you're seeing that are, if you find Mystic Ninja cards, for example, you're going to want to remove them. If you find specializations for other heroes, this is where you remove them. You want to look at your class and hero class and talent of your hero, and make sure all of your cards fit in that deck building restriction. This is especially hard with a lot of the Draconic cards. A lot of them blend in. It's very easy to just grab a Draconic card and not realize that it might be Draconic Illusionist, it might be Draconic Warrior, so it might not always fit in a Syndra deck, sticking with the theme here. Once you've done that, you've probably gotten rid of a good chunk of cards, but you got to start narrowing down further. So how do we do that? You want to take a lot closer look at the cards you have gathered. You want to start removing the cards that, don't quite fit that goal. Maybe you grabbed a lot of cards at the beginning that give things plus ones or help with extra defense, but your goal is full offense. So, sticking with that dagger thing, not all cards that give pluses can give pluses to daggers. Maybe you remove those. Look for things that don't quite fit. This is also where you would get to choose cards to put into your sideboard or inventory. Especially for CC players, you're allowed up to 80 cards, but you want your main deck to be more in the 60 range, of course, for consistency purposes. So this is where you start choosing out those cards that might not work in every matchup, but would really pack a punch in certain matchups, so you want to set those aside. Another important part of this step is make sure you have the right number of copies of a card. Good example of this is don't accidentally put 4 red Sync Belows in your deck. Look at the format you are playing. If it's Silver Age, 2 of a card of a color. For CC, 3 of a card of a color. It is so easy in this process to accidentally put more in your pile. So make sure you double check for that. This is, of course, one of the hardest steps because sometimes it is just really hard to decide what cards fit better than others. That's okay, but you have to you have to get down to the deck size in this step. Because once you do, this is important. You don't want to just toss all of those cards that you've removed, especially the ones that are really hard to decide on. Don't put them away just yet. Keep them handy. Because the fourth step is to playtest your deck. Playtest it, fix it, redo things, recycle, keep the process going. Like I said, you want to keep some of the cards you struggled to remove from your deck nearby. You may decide to add those in and remove some other stuff. The important thing in this step is get reps in with your deck. This is the best way to start looking for patterns in your deck for what might be a problem. You might be playing and you might find that you never have enough resources to pay for things. You might find that you don't have enough power to finish out games. You're ending up with too many weak attacks that are too easy to block. Or maybe the opposite is happening and your opponent is consistently slamming attacks into you really hard and you're never able to block enough. All of your cards are 2 blocks. You want to look for those problems in the deck, those patterns of results, and use that to determine how to fix your deck and change things. And most important part of this section is to toy with the deck. Have some fun, get to know your deck, try to think consciously about why you're putting certain cards in the deck. If you need more resources, maybe you're putting in more blue cards, taking a couple of red cards out so that you can actually pay for your strong red attacks. You know, Same thing. Maybe when you don't have enough power, you feel like all of your weak attacks are always in your hand. Maybe you need to get rid of some blue and upgrade to some more red. If you're finding you're never able to block, well, maybe you need some more 3-block cards. Maybe you need some defense reactions, anything like that that could help you. Um, like I said, the most important part here, play the deck, get experience with it, Start to think about what cards are working really well, what cards aren't working so well. Do you have any cards that might work a little bit better? Um, and feel free to use the people around you too. Sometimes after a match, it's really easy to ask, hey, where do you think I went wrong here? And they can help you out. Just, remember to have fun and remember to be polite when asking for assistance. Most people in this community are more than willing to give it. So like I said, get out there, try your hand at deck building, start having some fun, start experimenting. That's the most important part. Experiment with things. And, if you have any questions, any comments, let me know. Um, the other thing is, I'm trying something a little different here with the more slideshowy format. Let me know what you think. Is it worth? Just I hope to see you guys next time. Look for our follow-up videos, and we will hear from you soon.